Right guys, so a common question we're always getting asked is why do we train so much, how do we train so much, and why are we motivated to do that all the time? Like you'll often find us dropping things and just going, right, we'll do a marathon tomorrow, and we're in a headspace where we could potentially do that. So we're going to go through today a few reasons why, potentially what we've been through in the past that's led us to where we are now from a headspace and a mental game point of view. And we'll be delving into each other's personal kind of bits throughout this video.
Right then, so obviously the question with motivation, I think this is very subjective, and I think you've got to understand that there's going to be periods through the year where you have high points of motivation and then low points. But it's more important what you're doing through them low points when it comes to motivation and drive and the rest of it. But like everybody, we're all humans, we have highs and we have lows. Now one thing I found that personally works for me when you're hitting them low patches is when you think back to previous experiences in the past where you've hit failure, you've reached failure, you've been upset, you've been gutted. You know, I can name hundreds of times where I've had a failure at something, it's ate at me, it's really fucking hurt me, and then you've used it as a driving force, a pain driver later on in life. So as there's loads through rugby. If I could look back as far as, I remember my first town team trials when I was like 7 years old. I was the boy who come from my team, Shaw Tigers, where I was the top dog, but I was dead shy as a kid. And we went into the trials, I didn't speak to anyone, I was too shy, and then I didn't make it, and I was really upset, really upset. Then for a year I went away, worked on it. I even remember as a kid doing that, and the next year I got selected. Now, that goes all the way through rugby career, and that's why I believe that sport for kids is huge, because it teaches you to deal with failure. You don't spit your dummies out when you fail, you go, right, I need to up my level, I need to up my game. Now the reason I'm waffling on about that is when you are having them periods of low motivation, you've just got to keep thinking, right, keep turning up, keep doing the work, just keep turning up. Now we keep talking about in our videos and our posts about as long as you're present, you're going to keep progressing, and this goes for any aspect and anything in life, whether it's work, relationships. You know, the common themes branch out into everything. So the more you can get that in your head, it makes things way more reasonable, I suppose, is the phrase I'm looking for. So when you're on the highs, ride them. But remember, whenever we have highs, there's always going to be periods of lows. And when we're in the lows, don't beat yourself up too much. Go, right, what can I do just to make sure that I can keep moving forward? Because we all have them.
Right, so, no, I'm not doing that again. Today, we're touching on motivation and kind of what motivates us to do what we do, train, work as hard as we do, and continually try and push and progress. So I think, like, I've kind of always had that bit of drive and like to push towards goals. So in the past, did bodybuilding, boxing, pretty much any hobby I ever took up, I had to be full gun-ho, and there had to be a goal involved, and I kind of just really enjoyed the process. So I think probably bodybuilding, that's more applicable, is you've got a very clear goal, there's a set date that you have to make to do what you need to do. So for me, I really like the process of just working hard, getting your head down and pushing towards a goal. But when you get a bit further along in life, I'm not that old, but now I've got a son, I've got a family, and things shift a little bit. And looking back, I think a lot of the goals were quite selfish, really, and a bit self-centered. So it was like all about me, bodybuilding. Now, for me, things have changed a lot, and it's more about for my family. So I want my missus to choose whether she works or not. So for me, my business needs to flourish. So I need to work hard. I need to train. I need to lead from the front. I need to be setting an example to my clients and obviously potential clients. So training side of things, I need to be on point. I need to be eating well. Business side of things, I really want to push and I want to progress, because I want my missus, again, to be able to choose whether she works or not, and I want my lad to be comfortable. I want there to be no issues. If he wants to go to uni, needs a new car when he's 18. So I think things have shifted for me. Before it was very, probably selfish, you could use that word, but now it's more about my family, it's more external and about other people. And actually I'm finding it a lot easier right now because it's I'm finding it's more motivating. It's a bit of a deeper thing when I'm doing things for other people and focusing on making sure they're comfortable. I feel like I can work a lot harder and I can commit to things a lot better.
Okay, so my reasons for being motivated, everybody's got their own, but I guess it always starts off from an early age or a childhood thing. And I guess I've always been inspired and motivated by people that do really good things. You know, really powerful people have always inspired me. You know, whether it's a fitness thing, a strength thing, a business thing, I've always been really inspired by people who, you know, reach really good goals and stuff like that. And, you know, I always consider myself to might just have a bit of that, you know, when you're young you do a bit of sport, you know, you try new things and stuff like that. And I was never just quite good enough. I always used to look at lads and go, oh yeah, they're better than me at the running, or they're better than me in the strength, or, you know, you'd be on the footy team and think, wow, they're so good. And, you know, I'd always look at myself and compare to other people. And then I think as you get older, you start to realise that when you do put the work in and not just think about these guys, like obviously I was really inspired, but when you actually put the work in that these guys are doing, you think to yourself, right, okay, I can get somewhere now. So you start working harder, you start training harder, you start exposing yourself to more stress in a good way, and then you realise that this guy isn't that great actually, and I can take him. This guy isn't that great as well, and I can take him as well. You know, and eventually you start to build up your armour, you start to get more confident, but it all comes through the work. Like I said, I used to just look at these people and just hope that I would end up like that, and then it's like, nah, you're missing the key here. So yeah, I guess having good role models is a massive thing, and making sure that you see what the real life work is, and not just hope and dream that you're going to be like that one day. You know, like I say, the more you expose yourself to stress, the more you can count on yourself. I'd say that's the biggest motivator for me, is that when I put myself into a situation, I know I've got the ability to suffer. I know I've got the ability to graft and see it out to the end, no matter what outcome. You know, so the more you expose yourself to difficult situations, you know, that is training, consistency in training, of course, taking yourself to higher levels of training, whether it be running, whether it be weight training, whatever, but also in your personal life and in business and in your home life, etc. Being exposed to certain stresses and being exposed to the pressure of life, you know, and the pressure of, you know, trying to be a high achiever. When you do that, it does build up your body armor, and it does make you better every single time. You get stronger, you get more motivated, you get fitter. So I'd say that's the biggest thing for me, is from a young age I've been inspired by really, you know, strong people. And I was never just quite good enough until I realised that I had to put in some serious work to beat these guys, and I realised that they weren't actually what I thought they was, and they soon got taken out. So yeah, I guess that's my biggest motivator, you know, from a younger age. And right now my biggest motivation is just to be better all the time. It sounds really cliche. You know, if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, I'd have said, yeah, I want these houses, I want this business, I want this with my strength, and I want this with fitness, you know, and the mindset wasn't quite right where it needed to be. You know, stood here right now, the motivation for me is to be better across the board, to take on more, and to, you know, really provide for my family, and you know, lead by example. You know, you guys are listening right now, hopefully you can take something away from these videos that we're all doing on the YouTube and that. But yeah, you can never avoid the hard work, never avoid the stuff that's tough. You know, you've got to work hard, but you've got to work smart as well. You know, I always knew I could work hard, I know I can work hard now. But also as well, don't forget that you need to be smart and you know, keep learning and, you know, applying, and just keep getting better every day. It's good to have things in mind, like I've got some stuff that I want personally, but also it's the person you're becoming along the way as well. So yeah, don't avoid the hard work. Make sure that you expose yourself to the stresses of life, business. Make sure that, you know, you run harder than ever, make sure you train harder than ever, and all this time it builds up your armour, okay, and you just get stronger, you get more confident in your own abilities, and then that way, this is what Danny said before, I feel like I could just dive onto something in the next 24 hours. If somebody says, Andy, do you fancy doing 100 miles tomorrow? Yeah, I'll give it a go. But it wasn't always like that one day. You have to build yourself up to that and really expose yourself. So yeah, we're good to go within 24 hours due to life experiences and due to just giving it a go and building up your your mindset. Dave Goggins calls it callousing the mind. So yeah, just exposing yourself to harsh situations and adapting and getting better.
Right, so motivation wise, we've not always been like we're always training, we're always doing random stuff, we're always doing big runs and all this kind of stuff. It's not always been the case where we can go straight into that. There's got to be a process before that. I think for myself personally, thinking back to when I was younger, one of the first kind of triggers, everyone's got this kind of trigger, oh, I was a fat guy and I wanted to do this, all that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily like that for everyone. I think one of my big triggers was an old school teacher, PE teacher, where I went to a sports college, so everything was sports driven. I played loads of sport and stuff as a kid, but it was always where I was decent, but there was like a bit of confidence maybe lacking in certain places. And I remember I got nailed, and I've actually trained with the guy since. I actually trained his missus, but he nailed me in like a parents' evening thing and went, yeah, Dan's good, nice lad and that, like he's decent, but he just lacks the drive, can't be arsed, he'd rather chill and all that kind of stuff. And since then, that is one thing that's definitely driven me on. There's always that kind of thing of you're not good enough, or you need to do more, you need to do this, and that is one of the things, the intrinsic things that stuck with me. Alongside that with myself is the way my family constructs are, how work driven they are. All they do is work, and that has always been laid in with little bits here and there, like the school teacher saying to me like, could do more, could do this. And I think, to be honest with him, the kind of guy he is, because I've trained with him since I know the kind of way he is it's probably he lit a fire on purpose. It weren't necessarily taking shots, it was kind of like a call me out a little bit and see how you react, and it fucking worked. The guy's a bit of a beast as well, to be fair, so it is one of those things. And I think from a motivation point of view, everyone's like, what gets you going? Like, you must be so motivated, you must see this. I think it's more at this kind of stage now. Obviously we've done loads of things in the past, we've done bodybuilding stuff, we've got shredded, I've done the Ironman, yeah, and things like that, and it's been more of a, fuck it, I want to see what this is like, I want to see how this feels. And then when you start putting all that together, you start to get confident across all boards. So we're at the stage now where we can go tomorrow doing a marathon. Yeah, sweet, no worries. And you can dive on it. Unless you have what comes before that, the amount of training hours, the amount of times exposing yourself to uncomfortable situations. There's been plenty of times in the past where I've just gone fucking head over, like gone too deep into something and thought, fuck, this is hard. I'm thinking back to, for example, the Ironman prep, right? Bike, I've always been good because I've always done it. Yes, that's fine, I was confident with that. Running, been decent, played football as a kid, and then since injuries, went into more running style stuff anyway. One thing that wasn't was swimming. Yeah, so I forced myself to get in the deep end, literally, and get a coach. And that was probably one of the fucking hardest 2-3 months of kind of, you think you can swim, then you have to relearn. And it's all these moments of being humbled back to the basics and knowing that you're not that good, and getting forced into the deep end to actually try and progress yourself a little bit. All these kind of experiences over periods of time then build up to get you into a place where you can mentally go, yeah, fuck it, I can do that tomorrow. Now, I think as you get to this kind of stage where we're at now, we're very intrinsically motivated. Like, you don't necessarily need someone else to be able to say, right, you need to do this today. Like, you can quite easily get up in the morning and go, right, I'm going for doing this, going doing some mad distance or whatever. We could do that on our own, no problem. I think it changes now as you get to this kind of stage where you're more looking for inspiration, and your inspirations change all the time. Say you start off running, start at 5k, you start looking at people who are sick at doing certain things, and it might be a 10k distance. The further and further you get into whatever kind of sport it is, you're always looking above and seeing who's better, and using that kind of thing as inspiration. I think a lot of the things we're doing at the moment, we're doing a lot of trail, long distance kind of stuff, and alongside strength stuff. Now, when it comes to the trail side of things, we're looking at guys out there who are like 20-30 kilo less than us, but are going out doing mad 100-mile runs and using that and feeding that for inspiration. I think as you do build that kind of intrinsic motivation through experience, through training, through putting yourself under loads and putting yourself and exposing yourself to different conditions, you then develop that motivation to become normal. As you then progress, you start looking for inspiration rather than looking for motivation. That is where I'd say my thing at the moment. It's looking at the people who are fucking way better than you and aspiring to kind of get to those levels. And that's where I'm at the moment.